Hey, it's Bob Saget here. And guess what the name of my podcast is? Bob Saget's Here For You. Everybody's got a podcast. We know that. I've been doing mine for a while, even before all this craziness of 2020 happened. And thank goodness we're coming out of it. And I'm continuing to do it forever because I love it. And it's something I love because I get to talk to comedians that I love and actors and writers and sports people and news people and call you guys sometimes and see how you guys are doing. It's available, of course, at Apple, and it's also available at Spotify, and so you want to subscribe and listen to it. In fact, pause the podcast you're listening to right now and listen to my podcast, Bob Saget's Here For You, and then go back to your podcast. So it was an extra hour, 90 minutes or whatever, so you could get a little extra entertainment out of your day. That's what I'm hoping for. All the best.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, a part of the Dead End Podcast Network. Please subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and all other podcasting services. Please make sure you check out Dead End Hip Hop, Dead End Sports, Dead End Gaming, Is the Mic Still On, Chris Platt's Strictly Hip Hop and Hoops Talk, and a host of other shows on our podcast network. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, the Monday edition from Monday, March 8th, 2021. I am your host, Manny Brown, joined by my co-host, as always, Josh Rodriguez. What is up, my man?
We back, baby. Let's do the damn thing.
I know. Sorry, listeners. Life has gotten in the way the last couple weeks. So we unfortunately are coming at you guys a little late than expected. Not just this weekend, but the last couple weekends in general. Had some family issues, had a death in the family. So last couple weeks have been a little weird. So yeah, couldn't do the show the last couple Sundays, but we are back. I promise. No more delays. I promise. You have my word. We are going full board until we take our hiatus in the summertime sometime. So yeah, man, let's do it. Josh, what's good with you, man?
Not much. Same old stuff. Working. I got nominated for my production work on 17 Weeks, which is cool.
Yes, I saw that.
Podcast Academy nominated producer, which is a weird thing to say.
Hey, man. Well, it's first of all, it's well deserved. And second of all, yeah, man, you deserve it, man. It's a big deal. So you should not feel weird about it. That's a hell of an honor, man. Hell of an honor.
You're next. Yeah. Let's do it. Everyone get on board.
Your lips to God's ears, man. Your lips to God's ears. Hopefully I could get this stupid freaking box to work here. Technical issues on my end. So not doing a great job producing on my end, but we'll see. Someday maybe. But let's not bury the lead. More important than Cuomo, than All-Star games, than all of that. The Dime with Josh Rodriguez. 100 episodes. That's we had done this show yesterday like I intended to originally, we would have had some champagne. I had some champagne on ice.
Oh man!
But we had some issues yesterday connecting, so no doubt we will have that next weekend. I promise. But 100 episodes for the Dime, my friend.
Thank you very much. Yeah, 100 episodes, man, and that's one of the things that's how everyone who does podcasting stay consistent. So having 100 episodes just pretty much shows consistency, and I'm proud of it. That podcast alone has got me to, I guess, where I am today. I wouldn't say it's 1,000% why, but it's definitely a reason why I have the job that I have, why I have the friends that I have, and why I'm in the community that I'm in, and definitely the reason why I know you. So I'm very grateful for it. And, hopefully another 100's coming pretty soon. I got to get you on, man. It's been a while.
Oh, you know me, man. It's all good, bro. It's all good. I'm family. So anytime you got a chance, man, I'm always down to pull up. So let me know.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, I just wanted to, I know we've talked offline, but congratulate you. 100 episodes is a huge deal. It's a milestone in this community. You're one of my podcast inspirations. So, I aspire to be like you. So
Appreciate you,
you're
man.
my hero. You're my hero, man. My hero. No, for real, man. Awesome job, bro.
Thank you.
It's not a lot of podcasts that make it past, 20 episodes. Nonetheless.
Episode 5.
Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah. And listeners may be thinking, we're lying here. No, a lot of podcasts don't even make it past the first 6 months. So for you to be doing this for as long as you've been doing it, 100 episodes in, this is your baby. This is your passion. This is what you're this is your passion project, this podcast. I know it. So for you to reach that milestone, I know it's major. So congrats, man. Here's to 1,000 more.
Hope so, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
No doubt, man. No doubt. All right, man. Where you want to start? You want to start the All-Star game? You want to start with
man.
With Cuomo? You want to start? We're gonna have a little bit of a quicker show today because it's Monday afternoon and we're both working. So we'll start with the All-Star game because I feel like we can get through that quickly. As far as the All-Star game, man, I gotta be honest with you. I didn't watch it live. I was watching AEW, so didn't catch everything live. I kind of caught everything, the TiVo version of it. Kind of skimmed through. Clearly didn't miss much of anything as far as the game it goes.
Nah, not really.
What did you think of the COVID All-Star game?
It was okay. I mean, there were some cool moments. I mean, Steph, Dame, and CP3 had a moment there where they all caught alley-oops, and Steph hit a half-court three, Dame hit a half-court three, so the point guards kind of showed out a little bit. But, you know, All-Star games, they are what they are. I like them. They're fun. They're entertaining. I think a lot of people go into them every year expecting like some competitive battle, and you never get that. So then you gotta get disappointed if you expect that. You know, if you go in with high expectations, you're gonna be disappointed. But if you go with low expectations, like, hey, I might see something cool, I enjoy it. I like the 3-point contest. The 3-point contest I like more and more every year.
Yes. It's my favorite event.
Is it?
My favorite event. Yep. Yeah. The 3-point contest is my favorite event. I'm with you, man. I think me and you have talked about this many times on the show. I'm All-Star games for me. There was a point in my life where I loved them, where there were appointment TV. Yeah. Now, I just can't, I can't do it.
I do, man. I'm still there. I'm still there.
Look, if I'm sitting at home on a Sunday night and it's All-Star game, if I'm sitting at home and it's an All-Star weekend, sure, I'll pop it on. Obviously, I watch the dunk contest every year, even though every year it's getting progressively worse. Shooting contest. I mean, I watch the All-Star game, but is it appointment television? Am I dropping everything to watch the All-Star game? Am I, sorry, honey, I can't do date night. And I can't take you to dinner because the All-Star game. I got to watch Steph Curry win the 3-point contest. Yeah, it's not there for me anymore.
Well, the All-Star game it's typically on Valentine's Day weekend. Like,
I know, which is the crazy part about it. Yeah, no. Honestly, I just watch Friday night, the Rising Stars. I watch on a typical year. I watch the Rising Stars game. I watch obviously All-Star Saturday night. It's good that I'm on the West Coast. You know how it is on the West Coast. Stuff is coming on at 4:00, 5:00, and I'm out of there by 7, 8, I can still have time.
A whole night of television.
Right.
You got a whole night of television ahead of you.
Right. So, but as far as the All-Star game in general, man, I just can't, and especially this year, just didn't feel like an All-Star game. We really probably shouldn't have had one. We've already been down that road, so I won't discuss it further, but yeah, man, it was fine. From what the clips that I saw, obviously I watched, I kind of fast forwarded through. I watched maybe the first half, and then I kind of fast forwarded through the second half, and nothing. I didn't miss much of anything. It was kind of a
no, not really. And the slam dunk contest was, it felt rushed. There's only 3 contestants. They had 2 dunks in the first round, 1 dunk in the last round. So it just felt like they were doing it just to do it rather than actually following the rules.
Why do it? Yeah, why do it?
Yeah, if you're gonna have a slam dunk contest, have a slam dunk contest. Don't cheapen like what it is and short the fans of what it is. I understand that it's COVID. I understand all that good stuff, but I mean, the way they did it, I didn't like. It was really underwhelming. I thought it got off to a nice start. I thought everyone's first dunk in the first round were good. And then after that, to me, it was just kind of downhill. It is what it is, man. I mean, we're spoiled when it comes to dunk contests, man, because we see so many highlights online. I think a lot of people forget that, like, we go on Instagram, we go on Twitter, and we see like these people who we don't know who they are. They're just like dunk specialists, and they're doing things like cartwheels in midair, dunking like I mean, you're seeing crazy things. And then
you're seeing high school kids. You're seeing high school kids and college kids going out there and just doing just crazy shit. And like, here I have Derek Jones Jr. doing, just run of the mill windmill. Like we've seen it all. I think a lot of it is also, I think people could forgive the dunk contest if we actually had the stars. If you had Zion and Ja, you had, like the fact that LeBron has never done a slam dunk contest.
That's a crime.
Think about that. Like LeBron has never done, like, to me, LeBron, You know what? The last year of his career, I want to see him do a dunk contest.
But it's not gonna be the same. Like
it's not gonna be the same. I know, but that's the point, though, right? It's like the stars aren't doing it. Like the fact that we've never seen Russell Westbrook do a slam dunk contest, that we've never seen I'm just thinking about the superstars that are dunkers, that are known dunkers, like LeBron. You know, we've never seen Zion now. You know, obviously Blake had his run there early on, you know, the past decade or last decade. But I mean, you just don't have stars doing them anymore at all, really. Yeah. You know, so I mean,
and that's what made it cool.
It's killing the event.
Like the Vince Carter dunk, like that contest where he won the whole contest. But that was a cool contest because it wasn't just Vince Carter; it was Steve Francis, it was Tracy McGrady. Like,
but you had stars. You know what I mean? You had names,
right?
You know, I mean. Anthony Simmons, you know, unless you're following the NBA every day. I mean, we know who he is, obviously. We're NBA fans. But, you know, the mom in South Dakota, she doesn't know who Anthony Simmons is. No, she doesn't know. The guy that only watches, you know, football and baseball, he doesn't, maybe he's a casual NBA fan. He doesn't know who Anthony Simmons is.
I didn't know Cassius Stanley was on the Pacers.
I know who Cassius Stanley is because I'm a Duke fan. And
that's what I knew about him.
Yeah.
I had no idea he was on the Pacers. No idea. I was like, you on Pacers?
And I actually thought Cassius Stanley got robbed, by the way, but still.
The first dunk was the best dunk of the whole competition.
Yes.
And he got a 44.
Yes, and then the voting for the dunk contest is just a whole nother.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like now it's a gimmick now. Like it's become a gimmick where it's like, oh,
it's very hit or miss. You have years like the Zach LaVine, Aaron Gordon year where it's like this was absolutely incredible. But for every one of those that you have like 3 or 4 duds. That's the problem with the dunk contest.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, not much to discuss on the All-Star game route, man. But I guess we could move on to it's the unofficial end of the first half, start of the second half of the NBA season. Obviously, teams have already well past the halfway mark. Some of them, most of them, I guess. Anything from the first half that has caught your attention or that you're, maybe have your blinders on to as far as headlines, interesting teams, storylines, etc.?
I think the Jazz are really good, man. And I was on them last year. I don't know if you remember coming on last year.
I know. I remember.
I was really high on the Jazz.
The Jazz are like you thought they were going to be last year.
Exactly, man. They're doing this year what I thought they'd do last year. And I don't think and you're a Laker fan. I'm not sure how good the Lakers are. I'm not saying they're not obviously they're championship contenders. I think if you're going to say, hey, Josh, pick one team to win the championship right now, who's it going to be? To me, it's a toss up between the Lakers and the Nets. I don't know who I would choose, but to me, I'm a little worried about the Lakers. And it's purely eye test. It's purely the fact that
what makes you about the Lakers? Yeah, go ahead.
What's up?
I was just going to say what.
AD's a little hurt. LeBron's a little older. I think the Nets. You can make a case that the Nets are better than them right now, especially the way that Harden's been playing. The Jazz are better. I think the Jazz are better than any team they played in the playoffs last year. I think the West is a little better, so I think their competition is going to be a little more stiff. So for me, I think the road's going to be tougher. And yeah, I'm a little worried. That's it. That's all it is. It's all gut. There's really no logic behind it.
No, I mean, I trust your basketball knowledge, obviously. So when you say you're worried, I don't agree with you. I think we're fine. And it's not, arrogant Laker fan. I think a lot of it has to do. I think the thing that makes me not as concerned is before AD went out. I mean, we were just steamrolling people. I mean, and I can make the case that we weren't even playing our best basketball, and we had probably the first or second best record in the entire league when AD got hurt. Obviously, losing AD, and also we've had Dennis Schroeder missed 4 or 5 games there where he had the COVID situation. So I think that he's been a
huge pickup, man. Oh my!
Oh, he's yeah. That's why once we get AD back, and I think we're not going to rush him. I think the Lakers know they're not playing for. The Lakers are most likely, even if they just stumble around, they'll still probably get a top 3 seed.
And that's the thing with LeBron teams that I kind of get fooled every year with it, where it's just kind of like not so much that LeBron takes his foot off the pedal, but his team's kind of like it happens. Like you're going to lose.
It happens with great championship teams. You
are. And then you have the Jazz that look kind of sexy right now. And then you have the Nets that look a little sexy right now. Yeah. I don't think the Sixers are better than the Lakers, but like that's what I'm saying. Like I'm starting to watch these other teams, and I'm like, maybe. In the right series, possibly.
I'm not there. I'm not there with you, Josh. I've watched the NBA long enough to know, especially teams like the Lakers that are championship or bust type of teams. Right. They're not worried about the regular season. I think that the Lakers are worried about getting AD healthy. LeBron, managing LeBron as best as they can. I think once AD comes back, end of this month, early next month, healthy. Yeah. And I think they'll take the time with them. I think they'll take their time with them. Honestly, I just don't think we need, I don't think we need to panic. I don't think, we can make a small trade.
Oh, there's no panicking.
Nothing crazy. I still think the Lakers are the team to beat in the West. I really do. I don't believe in the Jazz. I'm sorry. I still got to see the Jazz in a big series, against
fair.
Until I got to see when I'll start believing the Jazz when they're up 2-1 or 3-1 or 3-1 or 3-2 against the Lakers. Then that's when I'll believe in the Jazz. Until we get to that point, I'm sorry. I'm not believing that Donovan Mitchell, Mike Conley, Joe Ingles are going to beat the Lakers. I'm sorry. And again, that may sound like arrogant Laker fan. No, I'm not. I don't disrespect the Jazz because Quinn Snyder is a hell of a coach, fellow Dookie. We all know how great Spider Mitchell is. They have a very good team, and I like the Jazz overall. I've always liked the Jazz. I think I have a great respect for that team and that organization. But I'm not afraid of the Jazz. I'm sorry.
I get it. I think the only other team that could give the Lakers problem are the Clippers. Every other team, in the West, to me, the Nuggets are fugazi. The Suns are fugazi. Are
you disappointed in how uneven the Nuggets have been all year?
Yeah, man. I mean,
they've been my most disappointing team to start this year.
They can't gel. Malone's having a hard time finding a lineup that works. I mean, he's been starting Michael Porter Jr. at the 4 lately, and that seems to be working. But at the same time, they have so many guards in that rotation that I feel like he has a hard time depicting what kind of rotation he wants. Jokic is playing unbelievable, but Jamal Murray hasn't really played well as of up until late, like the past few weeks of the first half he did. It's interesting because this team has been together for a while, so you kind of figure that chemistry wouldn't be that big of an issue, but that's what it seems like it is right now. They aren't clicking. There's something about the Nuggets right now that's just not clicking. They're not playing well offensively, and it's just a weird thing to see.
You know what I think about the Jazz, the Nuggets? I think they kind of suffer through some of the same issues that the Celtics suffer with. You have so much talent, you almost have too much talent. You know what I mean? Like I think that's the issue with the Nuggets.
8 guards you can
right. I mean,
get playing time to.
Right. Crazy. Like you have literally guys that on other teams can be starters, like legit starters, not like squint your eye and maybe they can start on a bad team. Like on a good team, they have guys that can start. So I think they just have a lot of talent. And when you have a lot of talent, you're almost better off having like in the Lakers situation where you have LeBron, AD, and then you have a clear second, third, fourth tier level of talent. But when you have, Jokic, and then like literally everybody else is like a 1A or has the potential to be a 1A,
or like a B- player. They're all like B- players.
I'd rather have 2 A's and like 7 C's, than 1A,
1B plus, 1B, 6,
or like 1A, 2 A- or an A- potentially, and like 7 B pluses and 2 C's. Like that's what the Nuggets are. And I think that, and I think people scoff at that, like, oh no, you need talent. And that's like, yeah, of course, you'd rather always have more talent than less talent. But I think there is an effect of having too much talent, because when you have too much talent, you have a lot of egos. You have a lot of guys that feel like, hey, this guy's not playing. I can contribute. I can play better. You know what I mean? So I think that you have that with the Nuggets.
So Barton I think, and Michael Porter Jr. That's what they've been going through in the beginning of the year.
Exactly.
People thought they should start,
and you could be in the camp that maybe I like Will Barton, so I really like Will Barton, so I think Will Barton should start. There's folks that really like Michael Porter Jr. They think he should start. Oh, sorry, MAGA Porter Jr.
There it is.
There's folks that think MAGA Porter Jr. should start. So yeah, man. I mean, when you have too much talent, I think it is a big issue on certain teams, and especially a team like the Nuggets that, let's face it, they're not used to being at that. The Lakers have this type of issue. The Celtics have this type of issue. It's a little bit more manageable because they're an organization that's used to being on that level. But the Nuggets, I mean, they're not used to being on that level, at least historically anyway. So, it's going to be interesting to see what the Nuggets do. But I will agree with you. They have been my most disappointing team. Going back to the Western Conference though, as a whole, I just don't think the Western Conference is as strong this year. I mean, you've got the Mavericks that have not played well. I know that they're starting to turning around now. Obviously, we just talked about the Nuggets. I mean, the Rockets are not a factor anymore. Golden State,
Nope.
Golden State obviously is playing better, but they're playing for next year, I think, more so than this year necessarily. The Clippers.
The Jazz and Clippers, to be honest with you, and then maybe the Blazers if they get healthy and click. Outside of those teams, there's really nobody else that I can. I don't see any of those teams beating the Lakers.
I don't believe the Suns either. I'm sorry.
Suns are fugazi.
I don't believe in the Suns. I know. Just believes the Suns to the day he dies. I'm sorry. Man. The Suns, to me, I have a little bit more trust in the Jazz than I do the Suns, obviously. But the Suns are kind of like the Jazz until I see them in a big series. I did a big series. Not against the Kings in the first round.
Right.
In a big series, then I'll start believing in the Suns. But
that's how I feel about the Clippers after the way they lost last year. I don't know how mentally they're going to come into the playoffs this year. I have no idea what to expect from the Clippers.
I have no idea
whatsoever.
The Clippers are the ultimate boomer bust. Clippers can go out there and win a title, and then they can lose in the second round in a 4-game sweep. I mean, that's how I feel about the Clippers. I mean, they just literally are just a hard team to read. They really are.
Yeah.
What about the East, real quick? Do you see...
Two teams, just two teams, Nets and Sixers.
I've been surprised how I think the Nets are the storyline of this year. I think the Nets are the biggest storyline of this year. I think they are the team to watch in any conference. How well they gel before the postseason and then obviously into postseason, because I'll tell Net fans this. Now it's about championships. Now it's not about we got to the Eastern Conference. Yeah, this year. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This year, it's about championships now. It's not about, we got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Hooray. No, you've got at the very least get to a final, right? And be competitive. I don't want you to get to the finals and you get smoked by the Lakers in 5 games. Like, get to a final.
Right.
And be competitive. If they lose a classic in game 7, 140 to 130, no one's going to bat an eye. But if you're going out there and you're getting swept or losing in 5 games, then it's an issue. So the Nets to me are the biggest storyline in the NBA right now, because are you convinced that, they've played well and they've played about as good as I think anybody expected them this quickly. But, are you still going to go to Vegas and bet all your life fortune that the Nets are going to figure it out in the postseason and KD's going to be healthy and Kyrie won't have a mental explosion and
Steve Nash is going to be a competent head coach against
and Steve Nash is not going to give us substitute teacher vibes and and all of these things that I still have question marks about the Nets. Again, everything looks great on paper, but I got to see it in a big spot.
That's why I have a season bet on the Lakers winning the championship. That's
exactly thank you. I appreciate that.
That's the reason why.
I appreciate that. No, but I'm with you, man. I'm not there with the Nets. They have the most talent. I think Blake Griffin does help them, though. I think Blake does help them a lot. He brings something to that team that they don't have. They have another guy in the post that can make plays,
or just a body. To be honest with you,
just a body. And the other thing about the Nets too, people don't realize this. This is not a team full of 25-year-olds.
Right.
This is now a vet. I mean, KD's 32, coming off an Achilles injury. James Harden's 31, going on 32, I believe. Even Kyrie, he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's the guy that's always hurt. So, this is a window now. You have about a 3-year window with these guys to win it. So, this is it's put up or shut up for the Nets now. It's now. Yeah.
1,000% now. 1,000%.
Yeah. Anybody else in the East? Are you a believer in the Sixers? I'm not. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think they're better than the Nets. I was impressed with them earlier in the year, but the more I think about it, the more I watch them play, the more I just can't see them beating either the Lakers or the Nets in a 7-game series. I do think they're going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they'll get past the Celtics or whoever they play in the semis. I don't think anyone in the East is really that strong outside the Nets and Sixers. So by default, they'll get there. But as far as winning the championship, I can't see that happening.
What about the Celtics? Do you think the Celtics figure it out?
They need to make a trade. If they don't trade for a big man, or if they don't shake it up just a little bit, I don't think they figure it out in the sense where they're going to an Eastern Conference Finals or Finals now.
Yeah. The Celtics are also been. I would put them up there with the Nuggets as far as disappointing.
And it's crazy because they're disappointing, but they're the 4 seed right now because the East is so bad.
So bad, yeah. I people always kill me because I'm a Celtics apologist, even though I'm a Laker fan, which makes no sense. I still believe in Brad Stevens. I still believe in that team. I still think they can figure it out. It's not too late for them. They have the talent. They have the talent. Marcus Smart, to me, that's why I always say Marcus Smart is the most important player.
They miss him so much.
He is the guy. He's the glue guy. He's the guy that holds everybody together. He's the guy he's their Draymond. He really is. Kemba's been a disappointment. He has been. I mean, he's robbing them. He's stealing money from the Celtics.
I have faith in Kemba. That's the crazy thing. It's like you are 1,000% right in what you're saying. But I mean, if Kemba can get his act together, that's the difference right there to me. If Kemba can start playing the game, then I might be able to believe in the Celtics again, you know?
And I know it's been a lot of it has been injuries, but you know, I mean, you let Kyrie Irving.
He's not that bad. Kemba's not this bad. He's not.
No, he's not. And that's what it is. It's like he's not playing up to his potential. He's just not.
Right.
So, but I still think the Celtics are going to have something to say before this year's over. What about the Bucks? I mean, Bucks are just. That's a team that needs to make a trade. They need to do something.
They need something. They need to shake up. They might need a new coach, depending how Budenholzer does these playoffs. If he makes any adjustments, if he gets out coached again.
I like Budenholzer.
I like him too, but he's starting to feel like that coach that gets you to a certain point.
He feels like this generation's Rick Adelman. Rick Adelman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what he feels like.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look what he did with the Hawks. I mean, he turned that franchise around, but he couldn't get them over the hump, and rightfully so. I mean, it's not like they had, any superstars and they're playing against LeBron in the East. But I mean, the Bucks for the past 2 years, you could argue could have won the championship. So.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
A lot of it had to do with him not adjusting. I mean, the way he. I understand it. I get it. But you got to be more creative.
Yeah.
You got to realize how teams are playing you. And now they're playing that sag. They've been playing that sag off defense, letting teams shoot threes. They've been doing it for 2 years now. It worked in the beginning, and now they're just getting lit up from 3-point range. So
I agree.
Adjust to that too. So it's
I agree.
What are you doing?
Yeah, no, he has not made adjustments, which is uncharacteristic because to me he's such a smart coach that you would think that, right, this is just obvious. I mean, if me and you were picking this up, why isn't Mike Budenholzer picking this up? But I'm not as hard on him. I think Giannis, man, it falls on Giannis, man. Giannis has to play better in the postseason. I'm sorry. He's got to play better, so, but we'll see. I wouldn't just necessarily pencil in the Sixers and the Nets in the Eastern Conference just because I don't believe in the Sixers at all. I'm sorry. Okay. I don't believe in the Sixers. I still got to see more from the Sixers. I don't believe in them. I still think the Celtics and the Sixers, honestly, I'll tell you right now, if Marcus Smart is healthy and the Sixers and the Celtics play each other in a series, I'm going to pick the Sixers. I'm going to pick the Celtics.
A lot of it depends on the trade deadline too, though. Like if the Celtics get Vucevic, my mind is like completely different. I'm talking in a different way right now because adding Vucevic, a big man in the middle to go with Tatum and Brown totally changes the dynamic of that team.
I agree.
So, I mean, it all depends on the trade deadline as well.
Yeah. And they need to stop hoarding these picks too, by the way.
Yes, they do.
It's time.
It's not doing anything for them.
It's time. I get it. 2-3 years ago, there were assets, but now it's like, yeah, no, it's a championship. You've got your two young bulls. It's time to now take it to the next level. So yeah. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun second half of the season to see if these storylines play out like I think they are, or see what the Nets are, see if the Lakers can kind of get back on track, continue to watch the Warriors, play, and Steph Curry he's just amazing. He's just like
he's ridiculous.
It's almost unfair, It's just. Yeah. What can we say about Steph Curry that hasn't been said already? Right.
Right.
What can you say? But it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting second half, man. But all right, transitioning from that because I know that's not what you really want to talk about.
Let's do it. Man.
Let's talk about America's governor.
Oh, please!
Right?
Don't make me talk in my mouth.
America's governor, Mr. Hashtag Govern Me Daddy. This is true. This is I'm not saying not a pause here. It's like. This is Mr. America's Governor, Govern Me Daddy, the one and only Andrew Cuomo, Emmy-winning Andrew Cuomo, New York Times best-selling book on defeating COVID, Andrew Cuomo.
What a douchebag.
Obviously, you guys all know, if you guys even watch the news for 5 seconds, I mean, it's been one of the biggest things going on right now. Andrew Cuomo with the controversy as far as covering up the death total in New York State as far as the senior citizens in the old folks' homes.
Right.
Just a disgusting act. I mean, the fact that and I guess what makes it worse for me is that this man was literally lauded press conferences on national TV every week, going on CNN with his brother, basically jerking each other off on TV.
Yeah,
like legit, making fun and joke. People literally are dying. People's grandmothers and grandparents, granddads, grandparents are dying in the old folks home. And I have Chris Cuomo and Andrew Cuomo, sticking gauzes up their asses and shit and laughing about each other's nose sizes. This man won an Emmy. They gave him an Emmy. Think about that for a second. This man was lauded, bouquets thrown at him. There were some Democrats and some liberals saying that, take Biden off the ticket and put Cuomo on the ticket. Unreal. How does that look right now? Unreal. And I'm not even talking about the sexual harassment. Well, we can get to that. We will get to that, by the way. Believe women liberals, believe them. Yeah. Right? Exactly. Yeah. What do you have to say about Cuomo? I mean, it's I'd never liked Cuomo. Cuomo's a douchebag. Honestly, I begged his father was a douchebag, and he's a douchebag. Yeah, I begged my father and everyone in my family to vote for Cynthia Nixon just out of principle. I was one of those dudes. You cannot cast a vote for this. This man is fucking horrible. Yeah. Yeah, man, it was kind of disgusting. I remember during the pandemic when Cuomo would have those news conferences and, my Twitter timeline would be like, oh man, I wish Andrew Cuomo was our president. That was those were real tweets. Those were tweets from people that I know from Los Angeles who are not aware of Andrew Cuomo as a governor from New York. And, it was one of those things where I kind of stayed quiet because I was like, Trump is botching the pandemic so much that I don't want to give, the Republican base or the right any fodder about Andrew Cuomo. But the man he's a piece of shit. There's just no other way around it. He's terrible. He's a bully. I mean, people were praising him during a pandemic. Meanwhile, he's trying to cut Medicare out of the budget. It's like, what? Right. We're in the middle of a pandemic. This guy's going on press conferences, acting like a tough guy and talking about flattening the curve, all while at the same time, he's trying to cut healthcare from senior citizens. Tell me how that makes sense. And then on top of that, you find out not only is he cutting this healthcare, he's actually hiding the numbers of deaths that are going on. Yes. He's a criminal. There's really nothing to it. He's a freaking criminal. Yep. Absolutely. He is a Democrat. He's a Democrat that gives Democrats bad names. He's the type of Democrat. He's our Trump. I wouldn't go that far, but I think he wants to be. If that makes any sense. I don't think he has without the racist rhetoric, I don't think he has he doesn't have a cult following. He doesn't there's not in that regard, but I mean as far as his this is what kills me about liberals, right? And this is also a part of that Trump derangement syndrome, right? Where it's Trump is this unique figure where everything he does is bad, right? So you by definition, as a comparison, you're going to elevate other people, right? Trump is so bad that literally anyone Cuomo. By comparison, Cuomo looks better. Cuomo. I mean, Charles Manson can go up there and basically said, right. Just say nothing. But compared to Trump, this idiot, oh my God, did you see how Charles Manson showed leadership as opposed to, this? And I'm being hyperbolic, but kind of not. I mean, we're literally talking about a party that tried to prop up Michael Bloomberg. Oh my God. Yeah, people forget about that. By the way, the same Michael Bloomberg who spent $150 million to get 6 delegates, and then by the way, broke a campaign promise of paying his staff. He never paid his staff. Never. That's a story. Go look it up. He has yet to pay most of his staff. And this is the same Democratic Party that has that compared to Trump. Let's prop up Michael Bloomberg. He's got to be better. Really? Seriously? No, this is why I get so angry about the lesser of two evils. No, sometimes just two things are just bad. No, they're just bad. It blows my mind because like I said, maybe it's just a demographic that we are the people our age. I don't know anyone who likes Cuomo. No one our age. Even he's popular though, bro. He's popular. He's popular within New York City amongst the white affluent liberals. Yes, but they decide elections a lot of times too, though. Well, especially in New York City, and that's the thing. It's when I talk about New York City Democrats, I can't give you one that I really like. Even de Blasio right now, his mayor's fucking up. I don't like de Blasio. I've never really liked anyone outside of New York as a governor or a mayor that I could prop up and be you see, these are the type of liberals, these are the type of Democrats that we should be voting for because they don't exist in New York City. I mean, obviously you have AOC.
you have those, the congresswoman, but she's a congresswoman. Like she represents a small district. A lot of people, when they think New York liberal or California liberal, they always tend to think like we are, like our state is so progressive or our state is so far left. And that's not the case. A lot of the times, and you talk about this a lot, like that Hillary Clinton supporter, like the Hillary Clinton liberal who, they'll support Black Lives Matter and they'll support progressive issues up until you're in their face about it. And then all of a sudden they're calling the cops on a black person just because they're there in their space. And that's what a lot of New York City is. And I think a lot of people don't really recognize that. And it's kind of frustrating, talking to my conservative friends or people across the country when I'm trying to explain to them, like, I know I voted for Biden. I know I vote for Democrats when it comes to election terms, but I'm fighting against them just like you don't like them. I don't like them either. I'm trying to get them out too. And I think, we have to do a better, I don't know if it's up to the progressives, but the Democratic Party has to do a better job of basically vetting whoever they put forth in these types of situations, because Andrew Cuomo should not be near any type of political office whatsoever. And a lot of
because he's got his name. He's got the name value, Cuomo. They have deep political ties in Washington. So of course, that travels far in DC. It travels far in New York and California, and just the Democratic Party alone. I mean, it's sickening, man. It's sickening. He's
everything that we hate about the Democratic Party. That's why I can't stand him. It's because I have to get lumped in with motherfuckers like this guy when I have nothing in common with him. I have nothing in common with Andrew Cuomo. I don't believe anything that Andrew Cuomo believes in. No. At all. And it's so frustrating to have to vote for a party that has people like this in it, and especially coming from a state that's supposed to be liberal,
right? And a party, right? And a party that has sat there, and it's about decency, the soul of America, restoring decency to politics,
taking a moral high ground.
This is why, in any aspect of life, I hate moral preening. I hate the moral high ground. Look, we're human beings. We're all flawed. Josh, you're a great guy. I'm sure you haven't always been a great guy. I'm sure you fucked up in life. I'm sure you've been mean to somebody in life, and I'm sure you regret it and whatever. You've hurt people before, you probably unintentionally, but I have. We're human beings by nature. We're just flawed individuals, right? But this idea that you're so morally superior and that you're so morally pure, it's bullshit, especially in politics, right? Especially in politics. It's bullshit. But it's like, but you and I know this, but don't advertise yourself as this party that's holier than thou. And look at us. We're not the Republicans. When no, you guys are just Republican light. You guys do the same shit Republicans do. The only difference is BLM blocks in the background. You put little, you put the LGBTQ flags up and say, yay, look at us. Look at how good we are.
My favorite meme is the one with the army ship dropping a bomb, and it's like Republicans. It's a regular aircraft, and then the Democrats one, it says BLM on it.
BLM on it, exactly. I mean, it's jokes, but it's like legit. Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah. I mean, Joe Biden, everybody. Joe, Sleepy Joe. Blah, 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 blah. This man literally bombed Syria before he gave people $2,000 checks.
Right, but the thing is, it's like, because he's incrementally better than Trump or Republicans, it's like they expect us to take it, and we do. Like that's the problem.
And we do. And that has been my fight. That is my core thesis of this whole lesser of two evils thing. Like, no, sometimes shit is just bad on both ends. Like, don't ask me to pick between cancer and diabetes. They both fucking suck. I don't want either of them.
No, I get it.
I guess if I'm forced, if I'm strong-armed, I guess I'll pick diabetes, maybe. Like
that's how we go into every election. This year, you and I did that. We're like, oh fuck, diabetes, fine. Yeah. It is what it is.
But here's my thing, right? Like, if you're forcing me to choose between cancer and diabetes, don't brag about it. Diabetes is so much better.
No, but you diabetes.
Hey, with diabetes, guess what? Think about all the sugar you're not going to eat anymore. Right. And like, now you get to resort to vegetables and stabbing yourself 3 times a day. Think about how perfect that is. Right. Like, no, it's shit. So don't sell me shit like it's a hamburger, like it's a fucking juicy hamburger from Arby's or something. Like, don't do that. Like, don't bullshit me. It's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, it's surprising me how many people are fooled by the Democratic Party. And I realized it during Obama. Like, I kind of realized that Obama to me was kind of like the closest thing to a cult of personality that we had on the left.
Yep.
But even more so now with like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, man. I mean, for anyone to think everything's all like sunshine and rainbows now just because we have these two in office, I mean, it's it's delusional. And I'm not saying they're not incrementally better than what we've had the past 4 years. I mean, Joe Biden has done some things that I like, but there's so much more, like so much more, like to the point where it's like it's almost like we've been starving for such a long time, and then we get breadcrumbs, and we're supposed to be happy with breadcrumbs.
Exactly. Like that's exactly what it is. And it's like, not almost like that's exactly what it is.
I'm not happy with that. Yes, I'm happy that we're going to pass a stimulus bill would be more beneficial to us than what a Republican Congress would have done. Yes, I'm happy for certain things. Like I am, and I acknowledge that. But at the same time, like we're still bombing Syria. Like the $15 minimum wage thing is like Medicare for all. The Green New Deal he doesn't want to pass. Like there's so many different things that honestly are life or death situations, and people might think it's dramatic, but to me, something like the Green New Deal is life or death. I mean, we're not going to have an effing planet if we don't take action right now, or a country. But that's just what I think based off of factual information. It's just, I don't know. I've today, and I go back and forth with this depending on the day. Today, I feel helpless because I don't know how to fix it. I don't know how to get someone who has a general, mind frame, like my father, for instance, to like stop voting for a New York City Democrat like Andrew Cuomo. How do you turn that tide and get a bunch of people?
I think it's a generational thing too, though. I think a lot of it is a generational thing, because I think if you look at when they say young people, basically millennials and below,
yeah.
I think we have a different view of politics than like our pops, our moms, our grandparents. Like we just have a different view, like, and not to put down that generation, because of course every generation has its flaws.
Right.
Has its issues, but I think, and look, there's millennials that fall in line too. So I'm not trying to make us out to be, God's greatest gift. But I think we understand like all of this bullshit, this America's a city on a shining hill bullshit that we've been fed, hundreds of years. It's bullshit. Like right. We're the first generation to really recognize like, yo, this is bullshit. This is lies.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this is not okay to just work, these starvation wages with the hope and the whimper and the prayer that, hey, you too someday could be just like Jeff Bezos if you work hard. Like, no, the system's not designed for that. And yes, there are outliers. Yes, there are people that make it in spite of all the corruption and all of the systemic issues. But that's not everybody. No, right. That's not everybody. So,
survivor bias.
Right.
Yeah, and it's just frustrating because like I again, we have a two-party system. Like, where do we go from here? Like, for instance, the $15 minimum wage, we had 8 Democratic senators who voted against it. So in my head, it's like, well, F those 8 Democratic senators, screw the Democratic Party. But then on the other hand, I'm like, well, 42 Democrats said yes and 0 Republicans said no. So it's like, when do you start being pragmatic? When do you start trying to work with the Democratic Party? And I think that's the biggest fight we're having as progressives now, where it's just kind of like, how are we going to be pragmatic with a party that we feel doesn't really represent us fully? And at what point do we drop our purity tests? Do we drop purity tests? Like,
and that's why I say you have to, look, do you get what
I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
For the most part, the Democratic senators were like, yeah, $15 minimum wage. That's awesome. There was only 8 of them that said no. Like, right. So if you're going to line up the 100 senators, 42 of them were like on our side. They're all in one party.
But it's not even about the 8 senators that said no. It's that the people, politics is about fighting. What are you willing to give up? What are you willing to sacrifice? What are you willing, and what hill are you willing to die on? Right. And you don't have enough people willing to die on hills that are important. You don't have enough people willing to die on the hill of Medicare for all.
Problem.
You don't have enough people that are willing to die on the hill of $15 minimum wage. Like I feel like you give the Democrats a little bit too much credit. I don't. I call them for, and I'm patting myself because I was just like you, Josh. Like but the Democrat, but the Republicans, like no. I just started noticing that like no, they both don't give a fuck about us. Like you literally had the Democrats win Georgia on the promise that they would deliver $2,000 checks immediately, not 3 months, not 6 months, not next year, immediately. And as soon as they got in there, like as literally as the next Congress was sworn in, $2,000. What we really meant was $1,400. like seriously, like, and it's like they really, but that's also I'm harder on us people too, because I think that we have to recognize that this is bullshit. And I think too much of politics has become celebrity worship too, right? Where we're afraid to hold these people accountable. Like we treat politicians like they're Kim K or Beyonce, like the media does. Like the media treats these people like, instead of covering Joe Biden impartially and holding his feet to the fire, we write puff pieces about how he likes to warm his fire. Like, who gives a fuck about that? This is the man. This is the leader of the free world. This is the man that promised people $2,000 checks and has yet to deliver. But yet he had time. Sleepy Joe somehow had time to bomb Syria.
Right.
And now we're having these arguments about the parliamentarian and the budget and the $1 trillion deficit. You ever notice that they never have a problem bombing countries?
Ever.
They never worry about that deficit though. That costs money too, by the way, you know.
Yeah.
To drop bombs on countries, that costs money too.
And for those who don't know, we spend more money on our military than the next 8 countries combined.
But we never bring up the deficit when it's time to bomb Syria, when it's time to bomb Iraq, when it's time to bomb this country, when it's time to give foreign aid to another country, when it's time to prop up a regime in Libya somewhere or wherever.
Right.
Like we never complain about the budget there. Funny how the budget never is an issue there.
And that's both parties doing it too, by the way.
Exactly.
Both parties blow that budget 1,000%.
You ever wonder that? I wonder that. I'm like, wow, when it's time to help, not even people like me, like I'm blessed, I have a good job, my wife has a good job, but people I know, people that need this money, that are hurting, small business owners. I live in a small community. I know small business owners that have literally lost everything, that literally went to work and had to just basically close down a store or a shop that they owned for 30 years. That's why I'm so passionate about this shit.
Yeah,
because it's like, you won't help them.
Right.
You won't help them.
Right. With one $2,000 check. Like that's like one time.
With one time.
We're not even saying, we're not even asking for retroactive.
Canada is giving their people $4,000 a month.
Right. We're not even asking for that. We're not even asking for retroactively being paid. We're asking for a one-time payment of $2,000 in which you promised when we were campaigning in Georgia. Like the Democrats, you could argue
Kamala
the Democrats.
Harris? Where's Kamala Harris? Where's the Slay Queen?
Right.
The greatest, God's greatest gift to identity politics. The first Indian, the first this, the first that. Where's Kamala Harris?
Honestly, where is she though? I haven't seen anything.
Have you? No, legit. It was a real question. Like, where is Kamala Harris? Like, I haven't seen her. I haven't heard from her. Is she alive?
I don't know.
You know, remember when everybody used to think that like Joe was going to be locked in a closet somewhere, and basically like the chief of staff Ron Klain was going to be right. Like, that's what Kamala Harris is doing. Like what?
Yeah.
But there's a new Vogue piece on her though, and then her outfits,
nice
and stuff. Yeah, it's cool. But hey, it's great. It's great because she's the first Indian American, Black, Asian, Lebanese, half Blasian, Latinx, first person ever with long brownish hair. Like, who gives a fuck? That's what I'm saying. Like, who cares?
And this goes across. This is every voter, whether they vote conservative, liberal, Democratic, Republican. We need to do a better job of knowing what the hell we vote for. That's a big problem. We have such a low informed public that, like, all it took was, our vice president is going to be a black woman. Fine, I'm in. Like that. That's all it took for some people, And then when they get into office, they get surprised, like, oh. What do you mean?
But it's white people, bro. It's white people because there's white people that can't stand Kamala Harris.
Actually, the people I know who don't like her
stand her.
Everyone who I know who does not like Kamala Harris are people of color.
Yep.
Everyone.
Yep.
I haven't met a white liberal that dislikes Kamala Harris. Not one.
They love her, bro. I literally work with white liberals that are like, what's the problem with? Like they look at her like she's Beyonce. Like literally like Beyonce.
Yeah.
Stop singing, stop performing, and decided to go into politics. That's who Kamala Harris is for them. And it's because again, they subscribe to identity politics, right? It makes them feel good about themselves. Oh, look at that. The first little person to run for office. Isn't that so great? All the while little person is in favor of bombing Cuba. Like, oh, but he's the first little person in office. That's what matters. Oh, look, isn't that so beautiful? The first Puerto Rican to be a senator of a state, but all the while he's out here murdering people in his backyard. Like, but this is like, and I'm being hyperbolic, I know, but it's like, this is the stuff that I want people to pay attention to. Is like, this is what they tell. And I think it falls, and then you're right. It does fall on the American people because we've been so used for a long time of just being fed shit and us. Oh, okay, I guess we'll take it. All right. Like, well, I guess they're better than the other guy.
But we've fallen into just, I mean, we vote for people that make us feel a certain way. That's really all it is. Very few people vote on policy.
Yep.
It's this person makes me feel this way, therefore I'm voting for them, period. And don't get me wrong, I think.
And there's an element of that's important. That is so
I agree.
useful, right?
And I think representation is important. I think it's important that we do have a black female first president. I think it's important. I do think those things are important.
Agreed.
However, to your point, it has to be the right person. Like, you know what I mean? I'm a Puerto Rican man. I would love to see a Puerto Rican president. That'd be freaking fantastic. But I don't want him, bombing 8 countries in the Middle East and has regressive political views.
But hey, he's at the Puerto Rican Day parade in June.
With
the
right.
proud flag waving,
doing salsa on freaking
right.
34th
And
Street.
I don't care about that. Right. The analogy I always use. Oh, the first black this. You think a criminal who's a black guy who's unfairly getting tried by the justice system, which tends to happen on a daily basis, is going to be sitting there getting arraigned and facing his sentence and has a black judge. You think he's going to feel better about his status because, oh, well, you know what? I got 30 years for a crime I didn't do, but at least my judge was black. So I feel better. Like, no, nobody thinks that way.
Yeah.
Nobody.
As long as we stay like this low informed, this is to bring it full circle, we're going to get politicians like Andrew Cuomo. We're going to get governors of New York City who are douchebags like Andrew Cuomo, who basically stand for nothing. I mean, I don't understand how New Yorkers or anybody for that matter can vote for someone who literally wants to cut your healthcare during a pandemic. That's not even a partisan. That's not even a partisan thing. Like, having grandma and grandpa not being able to afford healthcare during a pandemic shouldn't be a partisan thing. That should be a common sense thing where people are like, yeah, whoever's doing that should probably not be in office.
Yeah.
And I'm just kind of exhausted trying to educate people and trying to like inform people about these certain things. Like this stuff is not complicated at all. It doesn't matter if there's a D or R in parentheses. There's certain people that just should not be in office, period. Which also leaves like an interesting question where it's like, okay, so now the gubernatorial race from New York City, if he runs again, he's on a Democratic ticket. Then you have some crazy GOP on the other side. We're back to being we're back to the dichotomy that we've always been in, and it's like, now what the fuck do I do? Do I vote for this guy again, or do I go with some crazy Trumpist who's going to go into Congress with a fucking gun? Because like just things like that, you know what I mean? When I say go into Congress with a gun, I mean in the sense where like Lone Bobart is bringing a gun into Congress because she feels like it's part of her Second Amendment. I don't mean invading the Capitol. I just mean a Second Amendment nut. So like for me, it's like that's the dichotomy that you and I always face, that progressives always face, where it's like, geez, like I want to vote, I want my voice to be heard, but I don't want to vote for either one of these candidates.
And I got to say this: progressives got to grow a spine, man. We got to be willing to fight, man. And that's the thing that pisses me off about progressives.
Well, I think
nice, man.
I don't think the progressive wing is nice. I think the progressive wing can't get on the same page with each other.
That's part of it. But I think why we can't get on the same page is because a lot of them were too pure. We're too about doing it the right way and the model way. Like, no, sometimes when you're in the swamp, you can't be too pure, bro. You got to be willing to get dirty. You got to be willing to fucking fight people. You got to be willing to, you can't bring a damn butter knife to a damn AK-47 fight. Like, you got to bring a fucking 50 cal, a bazooka. Like, you got to bring a Star Destroyer to this shit. Like, you can't, that's how politics works. And I always bring this up, we'll move past this, but I always bring this up. Like, the Tea Party was so successful because they didn't care. They didn't care if they were liked, loved, hated. Like, Boehner hated the Tea Party, hated them. But why they were so effective? Because they were willing to keep Congress late in these committee meetings, go on the Senate floor and literally debate and filibuster the shit out of everything. Even legislation that was Republican favored, right? And favored Republicans on everything because they had a plan and they had an ideal that they were going to stick to. And I think that the left needs to be more like the Tea. I know it's the Tea Party, but the left needs to be more like the Tea Party
from a tactical perspective.
From a tactical perspective, and we're not. You know, you got AOC and the squad doing their things internally. You got people on the outside doing things their way. There's a clash. We have a clash about forcing the vote. You got Jimmy Dore versus Cenk Uygur versus Kyle Kalinske. I mean, like, we all do need to be united. And this is something that I have shared across platforms. You know, I've done shows or whatever. I've shared that, right? That we need to be united. But the progressives in Congress, in positions of power, they need to be tougher. They do. And they got to be willing to fight. They got to be willing to fight.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I mean, that goes back to the force of vote for Medicare for all. I mean, force of vote for $15 minimum wage too, as well. It's just, for me, and I think this is where I'm more conservative on the side of this issue, where it's like, is that, like, pragmatically, like, what can we get done? Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like if we just go in there kicking and screaming, nothing's going to get done whatsoever. But at the same time, I could see where that can cause some, like, you know, conversation, or you get some people on board. I think more or less what you have to do is get the public involved and get more voices who are, you know, going to vote, more people who are into politics, and have them voicing what they want. We need protests. We need people to show up. We need people to show these congressmen and women that, hey, we want Medicare for all. We
and
want
primary and if you don't like what the hell they're doing, primary even if you're not going to win, right? Like, just primary the fuck out of them.
Yeah, we might not win this cycle.
Make them work.
Maybe another
them
cycle.
Work for it.
And that's the thing, like, the whole Black Lives Matter movement, it worked because for 4 years we continued to protest. For 4 years we continued to have our voices be heard as citizens.
Yep.
So eventually the Democratic Party, whether they're virtue signaling or not, they have given in, and they have taken a platform that is more favorable to the Black Lives Matter movement than they did 4 years ago. That's just a fact. Now, you can say that they're virtue signaling, and you can say that not enough has been done, which is true.
Yep.
I do agree with that. But we have moved the party further to the left. And I think a lot of it has to do with, you know, we as progressives have to be more grassroots organized and, like, get protesting and have our voices heard, because our politicians, like the AOCs, they're not going to be as aggressive as we want them to be if they don't feel like they have the numbers, especially in the public. And that's my concern, because I think we had this conversation before. I'm not really sure, you know, Medicare for all and the Green New Deal, I don't think they're as popular as we think they are. I think they can be popular. I just don't think people are educated enough. And until we educate the public, I don't know if we're ever going to get that.
True. Yeah, I agree, man. It's frustrating, man. Can we going back to Cuomo to kind of round this conversation out? The sexual harassment. Like, how are you a Democrat in the age of Me Too, when the Democratic Party went all in, whether rightfully so, whatever, we'll never know, on Kavanaugh and you know Harvey Weinstein and all the things that Democrats pounded their chest for, and you're a Democrat, you're a high profile Democrat at that, and you're doing this, and he's basically admitted it, like, I'm a pervert, like, like, take it out of context. How the fuck do you take out of context, a conversation that you bring up about having sex with older men? How the fuck do I take that out of context? Oh, I was just making small talk. That was his response to it. I was making small talk. Like, really? Like, that's small talk?
Basically admitting that's what he said.
Yeah. He has no, I at least respect him that he admitted it. If that's something, I respect him, because a lot of people get up there and lie, so at least I don't know if wherewithal or just knew he was caught, just had to admit it, I guess. But at the very least, he admitted it.
Right.
But it's just just frustrating, man. It's
frustrating because
I don't know what else to say.
Our side of the aisle was the side of the aisle that started the Me Too movement, that was believe all woman. And then when one of our people did, like, we should go harder for the people who violate that on our side. Like, it's cool to like the Brett Kavanaughs to go after them, and because what they did was wrong. But when someone on our side violates a woman or whatever it is what the Me Too movement stands for, we, as a party, as liberals, as progressives, whatever, we should be going after these people harder, because they're supposed to be representing us. And I feel like I'm very disappointed in just the general public, like, just not giving a damn about Andrew Cuomo or trying to hold his feet to the fire, and then at the same time, it gives a chance for, like, the New York GOP to kind of virtue signal and be like, we care about women all of a sudden.
Right.
Like, no,
you guys probably got skeletons and picadillos in your damn closet too. De
Blasio should be calling for Cuomo to be impeached. AOC should be calling.
I think he has. To be impeached. I think he has, hasn't he?
I That's good. And I'm sure AOC probably has too. I haven't looked into it, but AOC.
I don't know about AOC, but I know De Blasio has come out.
Good. Then AOC should, if she hasn't already. But every Democratic New York politician should be calling for his head. Period. And it has nothing to do with uniting with Republicans. It has everything to do with the fact that this is the right thing to do because this man is a sexual predator.
Right. I will say there have been a lot of New York politicians that have come out and called for his head. So
good.
He's actually said he's not resigning though.
Of course he's not.
He's not because that's the level of privilege. I don't know if you want to call it privilege or
1000% privilege
or ego or whatever. Like the fact that it's
entitlement.
It's entitlement. Yep.
I deserve this position.
Yep. I'm a Cuomo. My father was governor of the state.
Yeah, don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am?
Exactly. And that's what it is, and that's what it comes down to, right? That's what it comes down to. But it's sickening because it's just this is the same party that literally went balls to the walls for Me Too, for virtue signaling, for believe women at all times. Not just like, oh, take women serious. No, believe women. Like we don't even have to vet it. Right. Believe it. You know what I mean? And now it's like, oh, well, not even now. I can go back to Joe Biden and Tara Reid. Yeah. And look, and I'll end with this. I rarely agree with Charlamagne the God on anything, but he made a great point. It's like, it's kind of weird that, the same party is going to sit there and give Cuomo a hard time and basically call for Cuomo to resign, but yet you elected Joe Biden.
Right. Not only elected Joe Biden, propped up Joe Biden. And basically, that's the guy you propped up to be Bernie. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's like you had like 10.
But he's FDR, Josh. Come on.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
He's FDR. Generations FDR.
Right.
Yeah. Right. It's. Yeah, man. It is frustrating on every level, man. But it's more to come. Unfortunately, we got to go. So we have a little shorter show today. But I'm sure we have many weeks to get in on our friend Andrew Cuomo, because I'm sure there's more to come. I mean, there's been 5 accusers so far. There could be more. Who knows? We'll see how it all plays out. This Cuomo thing's not going away because even if he manages to survive the sexual harassment stuff, he definitely is going to have to answer for the covering up of the death totals in the nursing homes. He's going to have to answer for that. And if I'm more outraged about that. Not that I'm, anti-women or anything, but I'm more outraged about that because that to me was just like, really, like, but yeah, we'll see. Well, there's going to be more to come with Cuomo. So yeah, man. But that's it. That's all the show we got for you guys this week. Sorry for the abbreviated show. Like I said, it's a Monday. We both got stuff to do, but we will be back with our normal episode. I'm sure we'll definitely get into more of this. We'll also get into Andrew Yang and his
that's gonna be fun.
his subway excursions through the city of New York. We'll get into all that stuff because I know some folks have been dying to hear our opinions on Andrew Yang and his mayoral candidacy, seeing as we're both New Yorkers as well. So it's gonna be interesting to talk about Andrew Yang. So yeah, definitely get into that. But like I said, it's gonna be a fun start to the NBA second half, unofficial second half anyway. Got a lot of stuff coming up. Dak just signed an extension with the Cowboys. Yeah, 4 years, 100. It came out like 30 minutes ago. 4 years, 160 million.
Good for him.
Yeah, including a no trade clause. So that was big news while we were recording. Dak is officially a Cowboy again, so that's good. So yeah. So there's gonna be a lot of things to talk about this coming week on the show. So yeah, as always, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for supporting and subscribing to the show. As always, you can find the show on all platforms: Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you find podcasts, we are there. Make sure you also check out Josh the Dime with Josh Rodriguez. 100 episodes. It'll be 101 by the time next time you guys check it out. So definitely continue to support that. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at the Emmanuel Brown. You can follow the show on Twitter at AGS Pod, Instagram AGS Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at the Emmanuel Brown, and then Facebook Emmanuel Brown, Snapchat MannyBro15. So, Josh, anything for the listeners before we get out of here?
No, it's it. It's going to be back, man. Another 100 episodes for the dime coming up. If you want to listen to 17 Weeks, which is the podcast that I was nominated for, I'm going to listen to it. It's old. I don't know. It's not going to last. I guess it's not really, what's the word? Evergreen, I think is the word I'm looking for, where it's, it's very timely. Like you had to be there. But
listen, you had to be there. But hey, check it out either way. Just check out one episode just to say that you checked out the episode for a
Ambi nominated. It's a podcast.
Ambi nominated podcast producer.
It's cool because like there's a podcast academy now, just like there's a actors. And, the Ambies. It's basically the Oscars of podcasting. So
that's dope.
I'm very proud of it.
Seriously.
And
seriously, man, no, for real. Pat yourself on the back, bro. That's really dope. That's awesome. So yeah, that's another goal for us podcasters to aspire to. So yeah, man, definitely. Kudos to you on that, man. All right, but we're done rambling. We got to go. Like I said, make sure you check us out, all platforms. Also drop a review. Please drop a review if you like what we're listening. We have a lot of people reach out to us on DMs and stuff. Please put that into a review. Helps the podcast, helps the show. So absolutely. But for Josh Rodriguez, I am Manny Brown. We are out of here. Peace.
Hey, it's Bob Saget here. And guess what the name of my podcast is? Bob Saget's Here for You. Everybody's got a podcast. We know that. I've been doing mine for a while, even before all this craziness of 2020 happened. And thank goodness we're coming out of it. And I'm continuing to do it forever because I love it. And it's something I love because I get to talk to comedians that I love and actors and writers and sports people and news people and call you guys sometimes and see how you guys are doing. It's available, of course, at Apple, and it's also available at Spotify, and so you want to subscribe and listen to it. In fact, pause the podcast you're listening to right now and listen to my podcast, Bob Saget's Here for You, and then go back to your podcast. So it was an extra hour, 90 minutes or whatever, so you could get a little extra entertainment out of your day. That's what I'm hoping for. All the best.